Hello again, everyone, and welcome inside another edition of what we call the Adam Jones Podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman down here in Sarasota, Florida. He's Mr. International, as we are always international with Adam Jones. This time in Athens, Greece. We'll hear more about that fabulous trip coming up. But today, we have reached episode 36 with the former five-time All-Star. And our special guest coming up in just a moment, a guy who had a locker right next to him, probably for too long for his liking. His name is Chris Davis. He'll be joining us momentarily. Adam will tell us also about that video that was posted on social media in which he received those Baltimore Connect jerseys. We all saw it. Was that choreographed? Because it sure looks staged to me as I play Sherlock Holmes.
3-2 delivery and a fly ball right field. It is way back. Chris Davis. Goodbye. Home run. Orioles win. Bottom of the ninth.
But first, let's kick things off with the former Oriole Adams in Athens. We're talking to Zeus himself. It is Chris Davis joining us here on the Adam Jones Podcast. Chris, appreciate the time.
This is what y'all do
in your head.
To do something.
Yeah, well, you're retired, just like Adam. But and we know what Adam does because everything's posted almost on social media. Yeah. Not as much as you. I mean, what have you been up to? Because we're not seeing daily posts of you in Athens or London.
Nor will you. Man, I've been taking the girls to school, picking them up, doing the daddy stuff. Been working out with a guy that both of y'all know, Jonathan LaCroix, lives right across the street. We've been trying to get back after it, trying to get back in some kind of shape, not baseball shape, but some kind of shape. And then the stuff with Compassion International, one of the organizations that we partnered with while I was still playing, kind of starting to take some trips. We're going to go. I'm not traveling like Jonesy does, but we're going to go to Israel in October. We're trying to set up a trip to Africa to kind of bring people on board. And then dipping my toe back into the baseball world, just starting to have some conversations with guys, see what I can do for the next generation of players. I think, Jonesy, you and I can attest to this both. We got out of the game alive and had the ability to cope and deal with the certain stresses and pressures of the games, with some of the issues that guys are having with their mental health and stuff like that. So maybe help guys out in that regard.
That's awesome, man. I miss you, brother. We were talking last week. I mean, it's like we're still 2-year-olds when we get together.
Oh yeah,
we're still around each other. There's gonna be stories. I forgot to tell Chip to put that when you ear hold me one time. I'm like, just scored a run. I'm like, dude, come on, just a home run, and you're gonna give me a damn wet willie.
Yeah.
But you talking about you've been shooting anything lately? You've been out hunting in the woods? I mean, I know baseball is in the mirror, but you've been out there just enjoying the fruits of your labor, brother.
Yeah, we just saw that big picture of Carson Wentz and a bear.
Yeah, I'm not shooting a bear. I'm not messing with a bear. I'm not messing with a lion or elephants. I'm not doing nothing. If I can get on top of that thing and ride it into submission, I'm not doing it. But yeah, I mean, I get out there and it was weird because like right when baseball ended, it's like, man, now what am I going to do? And like I could do a lot of things, but like, what do you really want to do? And so, I mean, it took me a good year or so to really understand, like, I got to be up and going, man. I got to be moving. I can't sit at the house and twiddle my thumbs. That's just not who I am. So, I played a little golf. I'm not going to be a professional golfer. I'm not joining the senior tour. I'm still going to shank it to the left and, I'll cuss myself. That's just who I am. But really, I think the biggest thing for me was starting to interact with some guys that were still playing. Jonesy, when you and I played, man, those teams were tight, man. And like, we could wear each other out. We could give each other a hard time. But at the end of the day, we knew that we had each other's backs. And the clubhouse just really changed, I think, the last few years I played, to where guys weren't really hanging out as much. So I think that, for me, that transition out of baseball and into regular life, it was a little different. But I realized that, like, one, I still have a lot in common with a lot of these guys. I still want to talk to a lot of these guys and find out what they're doing and how they're doing it. And really, that's kind of been my main focus the last, I'd say, 6 or 7 months.
I want to talk about the O's. Obviously, they've completely turned it around.
Yeah.
You came there in 2011. We were
good.
We were working on it. But then obviously we went through a good road and then a bad road. But then now the Orioles are back right now. They're playing absolutely terrific baseball. You in the Texas area, where the Rangers are playing fantastic ball. Also, two teams that were not supposed to be here at this point now. But watching the games. I mean, I don't know how much you watch, but just
I watch a little bit.
being around the games and just knowing what's going on in the game. How awesome is it to see the black and orange back on Superior?
It's awesome, man. And it's funny because, and I think you can attest to this as well. I wanted to be a part of that. I really enjoyed my first few years in Baltimore, not just from my own personal success, but the success of the team, and getting to be a part of that group that really brought some pride and brought some legitimacy back to Baltimore. I mean, we were a force to be reckoned with in a really tough division for years, and I really wanted to be a part of that team that kind of brought that same feel back to the Oriole magic, as they called it early on. I wanted to be a part of that, and it just wasn't in the cards. As I got later in my career, I battled injuries, and it just became harder to stay on the field. But I actually texted Mike Elias a few weeks ago and just told him, look, I hope you're able to enjoy some of the success that you're having, because it's been a lot of fun to watch. As a former player, as a guy who loves baseball and will always love the game, it's just good to see those guys competing. And I mean, we're talking dudes that are like in their early 20s. I mean, dudes that are stepping up and competing against, some of the best teams in baseball. If it wasn't for the Rays right now, they'd be in first place. And what the Rays are doing is just, I mean, they've been doing it for years now. So it's good to see that. It's good to see the Rangers doing well. I just think it's good for the game of baseball when you have some of these younger teams really competing, and there's a lot of energy around them. There's just a lot of drive and motivation from those guys, and it pours out into the fans. I mean, I've seen a few games here and there, and people are pouring into Camden again, which is, I mean, that's just good for baseball in general.
Yeah, the decision to retire, it's only been 2 years. It came kind of quickly. And as you look back on it now, CD, how do you feel about arriving at that decision? Any regrets whatsoever?
100%. I mean, I think it's funny because people always say, you shouldn't have any regrets. But I think as any professional athlete will tell you, you're always going to have regrets. Like, you're always going to wish that you could go back and do things differently. But for me, it was a really tough decision to make, because physically, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, and I hadn't been able to do that for years. And I think mentally, in my head, I was just so programmed to keep going and just keep trying to get out there. And it really became an issue of where I was about halfway through my rehab after having hip surgery, and I realized, one, just the timing of everything. If I'm able to come back with any time left on my contract, I'm going to be a shell of what I was, and what I was before wasn't great. So it was really a decision that I had to sit down and think a lot about, talk to my wife a lot about. And it just became, it came to a point where I was like, look, the Orioles have been great for me. They've been great to me my entire career. They're in a transition period right now. And I think the best thing for me and for the team is for me to retire. And it wasn't an easy decision, but it was the decision that I made. And looking back on it now, I'm glad that I did it the way that I did it.
How much pressure was it off your chest, though? Because I know you. I know how hard you work. People would tell me all the time, CD's not working, or he's not doing it. I'm like, I'm his locker mate.
Yeah.
I see the guy busting his ass every single day. How big was that? Just like, I don't have to worry about this no more. I ain't got to stress about this stuff no more.
It was huge, man. I mean, it was life-changing. And that's the thing. And you said it. My mindset the whole time was, if I can just work my way through this, if I can just keep getting out there, even if I'm just, at 30%, if I can go out there, maybe it'll click. And it's funny because, as a 10-year plus vet, you would think that I had learned the lesson that, man, maybe there are some times when you got to pull back, but that's just not the way I'm wired. And I thought, if I can just keep grinding through this, if I can just keep getting out there, it's going to come together. And really, it was my body pushing back, saying, look, you can't do this anymore, man. And I remember making that decision, and there were some tears involved, man, because let's be honest, like, we give our life to this game, and you spend a lot of time away from your family. You spend a lot of time by yourself, working when nobody sees it, making sacrifices, sweating, bleeding. And when I finally made that decision, it was like, I remember driving back from spring training after having 12 injections in my spine, and just like kind of working through some of this stuff of like, is this what it's going to look like if I can't get through this? And man, you talk about a weight, dude. It was, I mean, I'll never forget it. It's the closing of a chapter, and it doesn't look, people try to prepare you for it and they try to tell you about it, but you don't know what it's going to be like until you go through it.
I mean, you dealt with the highest of highs and kind of the lowest of lows.
Oh, yeah.
The majors and home runs, a big long drought near the end of the career. So, I mean, you've experienced it all, I guess. So there's a lot you can share with future players.
Yeah, I think so. Eduardo Rodriguez, who I've always liked. I knew him as a minor leaguer before we traded him over. I'll never forget, we were playing Boston and that he came over and he's like, "Poppy, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good, man." He's like, "Man, you're a lot in the record books." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "A lot of good, a lot of bad too." And I punched him in the chest because hey, I'm just out here grinding, dude. I can't say what's going to look like. It made me laugh because in my head, I wanted to be a great big league player. I never really thought I want to be a Hall of Famer. I didn't know if I had what it took. But at the end of the day, I was going to put in the work and just let the chips fall where they may. And I think a lot of the struggles that I went through, and Jonesy knows this, I would keep that stuff to myself. I might talk to him about it a little bit, but I'm not going to throw that stuff out in the media. I'm definitely not going to throw it on social media. I'm not going to do that. In fact, I remember Kristen coming to me late in, I think it was 18, trying to get me to do a Sports Illustrated interview. And I'm like, "I don't want to talk about this stuff, man." And I ended up doing it. And I saw the effects that it had, the good thing, the ripple effect on the good side that it had in people's lives. But at the time, I was like, I don't want to sit here and talk about my struggles. I don't want to sit here and gripe and complain. Like, what do I really have to complain about? But I think being able to talk about that to players now, especially being able to talk about what it felt like, what I was thinking, what I was feeling, the doubts that I had, the pressure that I felt, the stress that I felt, I think it's going to help guys. And to be honest with you, if I don't talk about that, then I really went through it for no reason.
I want to switch it real quick and talk about that's how the game has switched, analytics.
Yeah.
Me and you, we would have been out. We wouldn't have got 10 to 12 years. We would have probably got like 4.
Maybe
3.5, maybe the arbitration. But they've changed so much.
Yeah.
The rules have changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you see? How do you see it benefiting the game, really?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was the biggest I was against, probably one of the most against the pitch clock from the get-go. And I mean, you think about the last 6 or 7 years that I was our player rep in the union, having these conversations with guys and with the league. I didn't want it. I didn't want more emphasis on time. That was one thing that I really enjoyed about the game, especially in my younger years, was being able to step out of the box and kind of bring the moment to me and slow it down and kind of have control in that aspect. And honestly, now I'm like, man, 2.5 hour games sure would have been nice back in the day when we're scoring 15, 16 runs, not to have to stand out there on defense for 3 hours. But it's just different, man. I was glad to see they did away with the shift. A little pissed off that they didn't do away with the shift, maybe, like 17 or 18 and let me enjoy a little bit of that. But I think it's bringing the game back to what it was when we grew up. And it's more of a pure game. I remember pitchers, both guys that we played against and guys that we played with, that would just be chat when a ground ball goes right through where the 6 hole where the shortstop should be playing. So I think there's definitely good.
More ahead with Chris Davis here on the Adam Jones podcast. But first, please go out and support our dedicated sponsors. And don't forget our upcoming live podcast.
The Adam Jones Podcast with Adam Jones and Jerry Coleman will be live, and you can be part of the audience and meet Adam for the first time since he played for the O's. It all goes down on Thursday, July 27th at 8 p.m. Doors open at 7, and tickets are limited but now on sale. Go to BaltimoreSoundstage.com or Ticketmaster.com or call 410-244-0057 to be a part of the action. This will be the first time Adam and Jerry have done the podcast in the same spot, and who knows, maybe the last. So don't miss this unique night. The Adam Jones Podcast, live at Soundstage July 27th. See you there. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Be More Around Town. Be More Around Town is reminding you that football season is around the corner. Hashtag Purple Road Trip. Be More Around Town's trips are all-inclusive. Airfare, hotel, parties, special guest tours, and more. They're all ready for the Ravens game in London. They have over 300 deposits. Just pack your bags, get your passport, and meet them at the airport. Besides London calling, Be More Around Town also has road trips for all away games. Arizona, LA, San Francisco, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincy. Head to BeMoreAroundTown.com and find a hashtag Purple Road Trip for you and your friends and family. BeMoreAroundTown.com. By our good friends at the Weinman Company. By Hollywood Casino Perryville. For some, it's a game of chance, but for you, it's a game of choice. Hollywood and Barstool are bringing you more ways to bet in Maryland. Catch all the action in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville at the Barstool Sportsbook, or bet online with the Barstool Sportsbook app. When you download the Barstool Sportsbook app, register, and wager, you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash, plus up to $1,000 when you sign up and wager in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Play from anywhere and get up to $2,000. The choice is yours. Must be in the state of Maryland to wager and over 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. By Jack Daniels, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. By G-Leaf, medical cannabis only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up. Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast.
Hey, Justin, keep an eye on the time. It's your night to handle dinner.
No worries. Got it covered. It's great getting dinner ready with no worries. That's why I never waste time and go straight to Royal Farms. Their chicken is fresh, never frozen, hand-breaded, and cooked right in the store.
Oh, wow, this smells amazing. I'm so impressed.
Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
And a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to check out the Baltimore Banner at thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get started. Again, that's thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get 6 months of unlimited digital access for only $1.
Now back to more of the Adam Jones podcast and our continuing exclusive conversation. You won't hear it anywhere else but here with Chris Davis.
I will always be a big advocate of keeping the game as natural as it is. You still need baseball players out there. You still need guys with instincts that can go get it. I mean, you did things on a baseball field that I still can't quantify. And I don't know if the numbers, I don't know if analytics could quantify. And I don't think that I could look at a guy now and say, that guy reminds me of Adam Jones because of X, Y, and Z. It would be because of intangibles, of the way that you played the game, of things that you did that other people didn't recognize because they weren't around the game. And so I think that if you're going to continue to go in the direction that they're headed, there has to be reverence for both sides. There has to be appreciation for both sides, or else you're going to lose the feel of baseball players and you're going to turn them into a bunch of robots. And that's just not the way the game's supposed to be played. It's supposed to be played with emotion.
Yeah, it's funny. We're not hearing any of the players really complain actively about these new rules, which is always a good sign, because if they had an issue, we'd hear about it, I'm sure.
Well, you have to remember, these are world-class athletes. I mean, these are professional athletes. They're going to adjust, and they're going to adjust quicker than most people. But it's still, the thing that worries me is when you get, think about a 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid getting called up to the big leagues, having all of this pressure. Say he's making his first big league start, or he's coming in out of the bullpen. You put him on a mound and you tell him he's got 20 seconds or 15 seconds or however many seconds to throw a pitch. I mean, talking about some mental stuff, I mean, you got to be ready for that moment to step into it and say, all right, man, it's either, spit or get off the pot. I can't just sit in here and think about what I'm going to do. I've got to deliver. And so I understand it. Guys are growing up in an era now where there's so much information that I think they're kind of programmed to take it in and still be able to do a job. I just wasn't that guy. I mean, if you want to get me out, get me to start thinking on the field. And I'll go sit down in 3 pitches. That's just who I was.
Hey, I already said, we're not road scholars, bro.
No.
We play the game.
Yeah.
As a student of the game, again, we're not road scholars.
Right.
Who's your favorite guys to watch in this current era?
I mean, it's hard not to say Judge just because of the ridiculous season that he had last year, and he's always been freakish to me. I've really enjoyed watching this De La Cruz kid in Cincinnati. I mean, I saw him hit a ground ball to the first baseman the other day that the first baseman caught on his back foot, and he beat the pitcher and the first baseman to the bag. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know that kind of speed. Second of all, how was he able to do this? I mean, the guys are just so freakish in their athleticism. You got dudes that are like 6'5", 6'6", and can bang and run, and I feel like everybody's throwing 100. And I saw a little bit of that at the end of my career, where dudes were just rolling up there and had command of stuff that was running up, around 100 miles an hour, throwing 93, 94 mile an hour sliders. So honestly, the young players are fun to watch. The guy in Seattle, Rodriguez, is a lot of fun to watch. He just seems kind of like a little kid playing the game with the way that he enjoys it. But I mean, there are just so many guys nowadays that just are, I'm in awe of that. It's funny because I never thought I would be a guy that would watch a lot of baseball post baseball, but I find myself watching games during the day if I'm at home, and then obviously at nighttime. So it's a good time to be in baseball. It's a good time to be a baseball fan for sure.
It's very true. I want to talk about contracts. Obviously, you are the Orioles record holder and largest contract. And you're seeing other guys getting the 200s, the 300s. Now Tani's about to, who knows what he's about to get. How awesome and rewarding is that? Because, again, you want your brothers to eat around you. I want everybody to make as much money as you can because these owners are making every dollar possible.
Yes.
But how awesome is it to see Machado go out and get 175?
Well, the thing that I realized, and it wasn't a realization that I came to by myself. I had a lot of good people in my corner. I obviously had your blueprint to look at and to see your hard work pay off and to see you get the contract that you did. It just made me hungrier to steal your term, and it gave me something to shoot for. But one of the things that was really pumped into me early on was, you have to hold the line for the guys behind you. And that's one thing I don't think a lot of people understand is, there are going to be guys that are the dudes and leading the league in home runs 2 years, coming off a big season in my free agent season. I knew Jay Up was behind me. Jay Hay was in that class. There were guys that were going to be, kind of the mark for the guys to come behind us and use us, in their cases moving forward. And so it was a really tough decision. Jill and I, when we sat down and started talking about where we wanted to go, we really wanted to stay in Baltimore. We had a lot of relationships there. We were comfortable there. We had had a lot of success there. We were hopeful that they were going to keep the team together as much as they could. But ultimately, we knew that it was about doing the right thing for ourselves and doing the right thing for the game of baseball. And that's what's so rewarding now is to see the guys like Manny, the guys like Seager, Simeon, Marcus lives in our neighborhood, the guys that have put in the work, that have been able to withstand the pressures of the game and the failures of the game and still get those contracts. Let's be honest, when you're talking about owners and players, we're talking about millionaires fighting against billionaires. Like, it's monopoly money, as I would describe it. So I will always be a big fan of players getting as much as they possibly can because I think it's better for the game. I really do.
I want to ask a little bit more about that, but it should be pointed out that you and Jill have left a tremendous footprint inside Baltimore with the charities that you guys began and continue there and have done a lot. And I know Oriole fans should never, ever forget that. Obviously, that's part of your legacy.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what it's about for us. I mean, the money's nice, but ultimately it wasn't for us. I mean, we want to give back where we see a fit. And there are so many people in Baltimore, and I think Baltimore gets a bad rep because of outside influences and outside criticism. But I think it's such a special city because it's such a diverse and dynamic city. And we saw a lot of people there that were very receptive to us. We're very understanding of not only our situation, but the environment that we were in. And we wanted to give back. And I think that's something that we'll continue to do. I know it's something we'll continue to do in the city of Baltimore, but something we'll continue to do on a global stage. It's just the calling that we felt we've been ushered into.
As somebody that does charity work, I've been, blindly I don't want no cameras. That's a salute because you don't have to.
Right.
I just think people, you don't have to. That's coming out of your pocket.
Right.
You don't have to. So that's a big salute.
Well, and you were always an encouragement to me in that regard because I saw what it looked like and your voice has a way different tone. It has a way different weight in the city of Baltimore than mine does. But I saw you do it day in and day out, going out to the Boys and Girl Clubs, going out and doing things in the community and not asking for the return and not asking for the notoriety. And to me, that was always encouraging. So, I appreciate you in that regard. You're a professional, from head to toe, and you always have been.
Yeah, kudos to both of you for that, absolutely, and leaving that legacy in the Charm City. Now, this Bobby Bonilla Day, so much is made about every July 1st, these third checks. When is Chris Davis Day?
Hey, I was wondering.
2037, right?
Bobby Bowe he's the man. He's the footprint, and I think he always will be. I think it's funny because I will get guys that I played with or against that, will text me and be like, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. When is it? And, to me, it is what it is. The reason I structured my contract the way that I did was to try to free up the Orioles as much as we could to do other things. We understood that it was a big commitment to me, and we understood that it was a big dollar commitment, but we also wanted to try and do everything that we could to give the team the opportunity to work and kind of operate within some parameters, especially in that market with Boston and New York spending money. We knew that it was going to be a challenge, but it is what it is. It's nice to have paychecks when you're not playing. It's nice for it to not just stop, but ultimately we're going to continue to invest that money back into the kingdom.
That's awesome. Now, again, we've mentioned that you and Adam were lockered together for a substantial period of time. Leave nothing out. Tell us about some of the worst stories possible.
You're getting in there, brother. You ain't getting in there.
I told him I was going to try.
No, you ain't getting in there. It's funny because, I miss Jonesy a lot. Obviously, I'm excited for him and his family and Audie and Axel and August. And Ella still asks about August, which is funny. She's like, where's my friend August? I'm like, you still remember that? Because they were, little kids going to daycare or to school together. But no, those stories, man, those are for me and for him. There are a lot of the funny thing is, I think people look at Adam and I and they see, two guys that obviously care a lot about each other and that obviously get along. But Jonesy and I had some conversations in the clubhouse that really kind of changed, the way I thought about certain things. We weren't just jacking around all the time. There were some times when we had some heavy hitting conversations, whether it was something that he was dealing with off the field or something that I was dealing with off the field. It was, I say that to this day that he's one of my brothers in the game, and he is outside. I remember calling him at 3:00 in the morning when he's in Japan, getting ready to hit, and I may or may not have had some whiskey in my system, but just being able to reach out in those circumstances and just be like, hey man, I'm thinking about you, still love you. That's the bond that's created that I think a lot of people don't see.
And I always say this, that when what happened with Boston, there was only one guy that really came up to me and was like, hey, let's go break some skulls.
Yeah. I remember it in San Francisco too. And I didn't appreciate that. I didn't understand it, but I'll be damned if you're going to do something to my teammate and not have to deal with me on it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what it feels like. I'm not going to try to put myself in his shoes, but I still love the guy. I still care about him, and I'm still going to fight. I'm still going to have his back no matter what.
Well, there is one thing that seems indefensible, and it's the video we saw of Adam doing the wave in London, encouraging the likes of Bill Murray. Chris, that was popular a quarter century ago, and he's trying to perpetuate this thing.
I'm a little upset at Bill Murray for not getting up there and getting into it. He's supposed to be a Cubs fan. Those guys are supposed to be like fanatics. I need to see a little more enthusiasm from them. But, hey, man, that's what we get to do now. Like, we had to stand there and listen to people doing the wave, and we're up 10 or down 10 in the fourth inning. And that's part of baseball, man. That's part of the fun of the game. So, I don't discredit Adam or I'm not going to try to discourage his enthusiasm for a game. I think that's part of the fun. And you're in London, man. Come on, dude. Let's get up, dude. This is baseball.
100%. Come on, you got to have some fun.
He wants to do it at all 32 Major League ballparks. I think that's part of his tour.
That'd be great.
That'd be.
I might do it at the All-Star game.
Okay.
I might start the wave at the All-Star game.
In the Derby.
I'm gonna be the douchebag to start. I'm playing in the softball game this year. I'm gonna be the douchebag.
Are you really?
At the softball game. Hey, everybody, let's go do the damn wave. And bring me some garlic fries.
Now, that would be funny.
Seattle, you know them garlic fries.
Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah!
Hey, Chris, we can't thank you enough. It's been our pleasure having you on, and appreciate you taking the time here with us.
Yeah,
thanks, brother.
Yeah, you bet, man. Love you, dude. See you.
Thank you. All right, brother.
Well, as we said, Adam, you guys shared locker space. I don't know, did he have two lockers like you did? But he seems to have mellowed out and enjoying retirement.
So when he came in, he had one because he took over Derek Lee's locker, and then he took over like half of my locker, and then I went the other way and took over a whole locker. So I just basically gave him the one to the left, and I just hung my clothes up in just a little small plate. I gave him the two, but now, man, me and him, This is my longest tenured brother. It was Markakis first, and then him, and then Weeders and JJ. So we all have just a bond before kids, before marriage, and just going through the trenches together. So it's just we're brothers outside of this game.
All right, time now to venture beyond Baltimore, as we call it, Baltimore and Beyond. Now, you got these Baltimore Connect jerseys this past week since our last podcast, but when I did review the video, it seemed to be a little bit, I don't know, staged.
3 weeks ago, we were waiting at the customs to get this jersey. I finally got it. So I knew what it was, but I never opened the actual package. That video is exactly the first time I opened the package. But I had an idea of what it was, but I'd never seen the jersey live. And it's a 1-of-1, baby. There's only one number 10. I don't know if they're selling my jerseys at the ballparks.
It is what it is. I'll have to take you for your word. That was the first time you saw that. And who was the filmmaker?
The filmmaker was my wife. And one of my friend's kids, they were in town, and he says, Elias. So he drops that. I don't know if he meant to do that, but it's a great touch. And it's a great jersey. When I got to really look at the details, they did a really good job.
So wait a minute. Do you think that youngster was thinking like the Orioles were sending you a jersey because they were bringing you back to play again?
No, he knows I'm done. All my friends know I'm done playing. Okay. I can't play no more. I'm playing in the softball game, but
it was a young kid.
He was basically my little nephew. So he knows Uncle Adam is done. Okay, Uncle Adam is going to taking everybody to the beach.
But after getting your Orioles jersey, it was on to London. You went. London came calling, or you went calling on London, and you got to see the Cubs and the Cardinals. A lot of people say, why would they play that series in London? Because they're going to sell out Wrigley. They're going to sell out St. Louis. But how did it play in London from your perspective and compared to watching the NFL in that city as well, Adam?
Well, I mean, baseball is a little bit different playing it in London. In the two teams, obviously Chicago is a bigger market than St. Louis, so there were a lot more Chicago fans than St. Louis fans. But St. Louis people travel, and they've had a rich history, and especially the last 2 decades of winning championships. So they're well known, and obviously having Pujols there, having Fowler there, Rick Sutcliffe, Ferguson, Jenkins. Like, I'm just sitting there enamored with all these, legends on both sides, but just good people. The stadium was great. It was warm. The ball was flying. I just think everything that they've done, this is the second international series Major League Baseball has done this year with the Mexico series and now the London series. And it's just, it's growing the game. And a friend of mine who I met who runs Great Britain baseball, I met him in Regensburg for the qualifier for WBC. And I went to go have dinner with him, and me and him talked for 3 hours just about, like, what can we do to improve this game? Took a picture of it, I posted on social media. Team Italy's people start reaching out, like, hey, come up to Milan and Bergamo and come help us out. And that's the coolest part about being a Major League player is the growth that you have and the reach that you have, the knowledge that you have within this game. And, me, I just want the next generation to play. My time is gone, it's past. But if I can help out the next generation to live out their same dream that I lived out, that's what it's really, really about.
What about the thirst in London for baseball compared to football? How would you?
I mean, obviously, football is the creme de la creme for sports. Europe doesn't care for football that much, obviously, because they have their own football, so they don't care for football Americana as much. But they still love it and they appreciate it. And they're selling out 80 to 100,000 seat stadiums, so they love it. It's something different to them. It's all the Americans are doing something here. It's the same thing when Real Madrid and FC Barcelona comes and plays friendlies in the United States against certain teams. It's something different. You don't get to see these teams often, so you want to go out and you want to go support and you want to watch.
All right, grab your crystal ball, look down the road if you can for a second. What do you think has a better chance of occurring, MLB in Europe or Mexico?
I think Mexico probably has a lot better chance just because of how many games we play as a baseball team and the proximity. It's Mexico City's 3 hours from San Diego, from Arizona, from Dallas, from the southern teams. Obviously, it's further from Yankees, Seattle, and the northern teams, but it's still in North America. Boston flies to San Diego or Anaheim. That's 7-hour flight. So these teams can make it if you build it into the schedule. I think Mexico City it's 20 million people, so 100% they can support it. It's just a matter of, do you want to take away the Mexican League and get rid of, the Diablos that play in Mexico City? So they have their own league there. That's the hardest part. But they have a major league stadium, as we've seen. So it could work, but you're also going to be taken away from the Mexican League.
All right, last thing here I wanted to touch on because it was very disturbing, and that was the video of you coaxing Bill Murray into doing the wave.
The wave is coming. We got to do the wave. I'm a big wave fan. I don't care. You ready? I'm doing the damn wave. It's coming. Hey! Let's do the wave. Do the wave, CC. Goddamn, do the wave.
CC doing the wave.
Come on, man.
Hey, right before that happened, I was like, Mr. Murray, the wave is coming back. He's like, hey, we don't do no wave here. I'm like, come on, Mr. Murray, we got to do the wave. Come on, you're a big baseball fan. The commissioner's right behind him. And I'm like, come on, do the wave. And everybody up there was doing the wave, man. That was such a great moment to get Mr. Murray. I got CC doing it. Like, that's what it's about. It's an enjoyment. You are a Debbie Downer, and you be the person that's sitting there just like this, Charlton, I ain't doing no wave.
Yeah, to see it cross the
somebody walks
like
by.
that.
Somebody walks by, you're like, okay. Do the wave, man. The wave is awesome.
To see it cross the pond in that manner was so upsetting for me. But
when we get to Baltimore, let's start the wave.
What the hell did you just say?
All right, let's move on and put a bow and tie on today's episode, or this week's, I should say, with another edition of Socially Speaking, where someone will qualify for a Miss Shirley's gift card. By the way, David Dobkin reached out to me and invited me to an Orioles game. So I will be going to a game with Dobkin at some point. And no, we're not doing the wave, Dobkin. He's trying to get me to do it, by the way.
When I come to town, I'm going there and I'm going to get them bacon, chicken and waffles.
All right. He should be warned. All right. But you can qualify for the Miss Shirley's gift card simply by tweeting, sending us a message via Instagram or Facebook. The address is the same, at Adam Jones Pod, at Adam Jones Pod on all three platforms. This week, it comes in the form of a tweet from Harley at Double H Town. He asks Adam, what's something you disliked during your playing days that you find yourself liking now?
I like taking out the catcher. I like taking out the second baseman. I think pace of play. As a person who, tried to have a lot of dates with my wife on Friday nights, pace of play definitely would have helped make the reservation and not have to get the waiter rushing to you and be like, hey, it's last call. The pace of play, that would have been something that I would have liked more as a player right now. It didn't bother me as much, but sometimes you look up there and it's the fifth inning or third inning, it's like 8:30. You're like, damn, this is gonna be a 10:45 game. I'm gonna get home at 11:30. Food gonna be cold. So it was always good to when we had a quick game, I can go and me and my wife would be able to go on date night. So if they would, I would have really loved and benefited from this clock.
I like how you think, because for Chris Davis, obviously wish the shift were eliminated earlier. For you want these games done so you don't have to hold the restaurant open for an extra hour and maybe have to pay a little extra in tips and all that to the staff. I know where you're going. All right, we're done here. You enjoy the rest of your European vacation. We will catch up next week. We got some news about you at the All-Star game that may or may not have been leaked during this podcast. We'll talk about that. We got a very special guest next week as well. You'll just have to wait and see about that. But we do have to thank our senior executive producer. His name is Chip Franklin, who drops more names than a telephone book. And there he is. Also, we want to thank our loyal, dedicated sponsors. Please go out and support these people. And we'll see you at our live podcast. Here's some more info on that.
The Adam Jones Podcast with Adam Jones and Jerry Coleman will be live, and you can be part of the audience and meet Adam for the first time since he played for the O's. It all goes down on Thursday, July 27th at 8 p.m. Doors open at 7, and tickets are limited but now on sale. Go to BaltimoreSoundstage.com or Ticketmaster.com or call 410-244-0057 to be a part of the action. This will be the first time Adam and Jerry have done the podcast in the same spot, and who knows, maybe the last. So don't miss this unique night. The Adam Jones Podcast, live at Soundstage July 27th. See you there. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Be More Around Town. Be More Around Town is reminding you that football season is around the corner. Hashtag Purple Road Trip. Be More Around Town's trips are all-inclusive. Airfare, hotel, parties, special guest tours, and more. They're all ready for the Ravens game in London. They have over 300 deposits. Just pack your bags, get your passport, and meet them at the airport. Besides London calling, Be More Around Town also has road trips for all away games. Arizona, LA, San Francisco, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincy. Head to BeMoreAroundTown.com and find a hashtag Purple Road Trip for you and your friends and family. BeMoreAroundTown.com. By our good friends at the Weinman Company. By Hollywood Casino Perryville. For some, it's a game of chance, but for you, it's a game of choice. Hollywood and Barstool are bringing you more ways to bet in Maryland. Catch all the action in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville at the Barstool Sportsbook, or bet online with the Barstool Sportsbook app. When you download the Barstool Sportsbook app, register, and wager, you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash, plus up to $1,000 when you sign up and wager in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Play from anywhere and get up to $2,000. The choice is yours. Must be in the state of Maryland to wager and over 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. By Jack Daniels, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. By G-Leaf, medical cannabis only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up. Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast.
Hey, Justin, keep an eye on the time. It's your night to handle dinner.
No worries. Got it covered. It's great getting dinner ready with no worries. That's why I never waste time and go straight to Royal Farms. Their chicken is fresh, never frozen, hand-breaded, and cooked right in the store.
Oh, wow, this smells amazing. I'm so impressed.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
And a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to check out the Baltimore Banner at thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get started. Again, that's thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get 6 months of unlimited digital access for only $1.
Until next week, be kind, be real, and be back for another episode of the Adam Jones Podcast. See ya.